Okay, I want to welcome everybody tonight to our real estate market analysis class. We're here at the Master of Science in Real Estate program in Robinson College of Business at Georgia State University. And we're going to have some visitors from around the world wanting to learn more about the real estate program and learn more about our classes here at Georgia State. We're very fortunate tonight to start off with a guest speaker. The types of speakers we often have in our master's program, industry leaders from different parts of the real estate industry, mainly from Atlanta, but from other cities and countries as we can arrange that. And tonight, our guest is someone who needs little introduction in the real estate community. Sim Doherty's been in industrial real estate for more years than he probably wants to remember, more than 20 years. He's president, well, I've been around that long too. He's president of King Industrial Realty. Again, a name you are all familiar with, even if you just drive around town in Atlanta. There's not any way to avoid seeing those glamorous signs. Leader in industrial real estate brokerage. You probably are familiar with a project that Sim's recently worked on. If you know about the Shannon Mall project down in Union City, and we've been watching that grow. He has been involved with that project and many others within the city of Atlanta. He holds the CCIM designation, and several of you are aware of that as part of this program. You're in the university program for CCIM and get credit toward 3 of the CCIM required courses. He's also a member of SIOR, S-I-O-R. Again, has many of the designations that helps us see people that are professional in commercial real estate and take the time to do the additional learning, gain the additional expertise, and gain those credentials. And we're very happy to have him with us tonight as well because he is a Georgia State alum, and he has given back to the department and the programs in many ways. We have graduates of Georgia State working at King Industrial right now. He's taken interns work at King Industrial while they're in school. Sim serves on our honorary board that provides us with advice and meets with our students and gives them career advice as well. And so without further delay, I will bring up your presentation and turn it over to Sim. Oops, not my...
I'm on. Good evening, everyone. Let's hope this goes the right direction. You don't want to give a broker mechanical things to work with. I'm happy to be here. This is great. I did go to Georgia State, and it was many years ago, so we won't go into that. But Georgia State's a great place to go to school because everybody knows you. When you get out, everybody knows you, so you don't have to worry about asking somebody about Georgia State. I don't have to talk to you about going for education because you're already here. But when you do get out, if you want to ascend in the business, you'll have a better shot when you have designations. So I would, especially when you have to go out and meet with bankers and other people like that, they understand because they're also CCIMs. SIOR is the best of the best if you're doing office and industrial. So whatever you pick, just keep learning, keep doing things, and you'll be happy. Aha. I'm glad that came up. So they asked me to talk about the industrial market and tell you a little bit about King. We actually track the market ourselves, and I'll get into that here. But we're going to talk about trends. We're going to talk about what's going on in the marketplace. And the last 2 years have been great. So I'm glad I wasn't here like 4 years ago because I wouldn't have anything to talk about. So when you look at the very first thing here, I keep telling them to take my picture off here, but they keep putting it up. So. But what this means is the last 2 years have been great, and provided nothing worldwide happens to change things, I think this will be a great year as well. And so in fact, in January, we've already done 41 deals in January. That's a lot of deals. And so we continue to move forward in what we do. Now, at King Industrial, we track the market ourselves. So we're tracking 667 million square feet in this area We actually track a little bit farther out than that, but for this discussion, that's what we're tracking. And we go out every 90 days, so every quarter we go by every building and every space. It's a huge job. Nobody else does it like we do it. And many times I tell people, sometimes we'll call up an owner and tell him, we want to lease your building. The guy says, you can't, I got a tenant in there. We say, no, you don't. Because we know before the owner knows that somebody has moved out. And so we're tracking buildings and businesses, and we put it in our database so that we can pull it up. So we run reports. Nothing's 100% accurate, but it's more accurate than anybody else. CoStar, Excelligent, whatever. So that's our leg up on the competition. For this discussion, we're going to talk about the distribution market because that's what Atlanta is. Atlanta's a distribution hub. And so 96% of the industrial market is distribution. So right now, we've got an inventory of 642 million, and we're showing 13.4% available. That's the lowest it's been in 19 years. You'd have to go back to the Olympics of 1996 to see a lower number than that. It's still a pretty big number, though. It's still like 86 million square feet of space. But most of that, 80-something% of that, is actually old space, used space. It's not new space. We just now started building to catch up. So it's a little bit hard to see, and I'll try to see if I can operate this. Yay! All right, so this is activity, and it's going back over the last 20 years. All right, and so, because we're looking at trends. When we work with bankers and developers and all that, they're always looking for trends. Should I lend the money? Should I build the building? And so they want to know what's going on. So when you go back to the mid-90s, and we're maybe 35 million square feet of activity of leases and sales, the 90s we just took off, and we actually set a record in 2000 for the most leases and sales. Almost hit 50 million. But these are the recessions. These two are the recessions that happened. So we had the dot-com bust. We had the presidential election that wouldn't end with hanging chads. And then we had 9/11. And so we had a recession. So we dropped from almost 50 million all the way down to 30 million. So 20 million is a pretty huge drop. But we took off through the 2000s again, and we actually set a record in 2007 with over 50 million square feet of leases and sales. Then, and I'll tell you this, it's kind of funny. I was on a panel one time, and they asked me what kept me up at night. And I said, well, the housing market in April of 2006 went down, and it didn't get us. We were still doing fine. And then the spike in oil prices the next year, that didn't get us either. But then we had the capital markets meltdown, and that got everybody. And so we went from over 50 down to about 36 million, but you can see it didn't go down to 30 million. It should have gone, who knows where it should have gone, but it didn't. And so it went to 36 and popped right back up to over 40 million. And I have to tell you, when you're doing over 40 million square feet of leases and sales, you're averaging over 10 million a quarter, you're doing really well. And so from a broker standpoint, you're doing a lot of business. And we've been setting records lately. We got up to 60 million in leases and sales, and right now, we're at like 58.2 million square feet of leases and sales. It's huge. Now, do I think this is sustainable? We'll stay up here forever? I don't think so. But when it drops back down to in this range right here, we're still doing great. The thing that we don't know is we're doing distribution space, but we're also doing e-commerce. And e-commerce didn't exist 10 years ago. And so we're building new buildings for e-commerce to keep up with that. So right now, activity is just outstanding. So this is absorption layered against the same two recessions. And so what you'll see here is started off with great absorption in the 90s and got up over 16 million, 17 million up here. It was just outstanding. But 9/11 came, and we had 9 quarters in a row of negative net absorption. We'd never seen that before. And so put 10.5 million square feet back on the market, but we took off again, never got way up here again, but we were doing 13, 14, 15 million or whatever, right in here, pretty standard kind of things. But the capital markets happened. And when that crash happened, this is 4 years in a row of negative net absorption. From a broker standpoint, if the market's going up or down, we're still making deals. But from a developer standpoint, they were really getting hit pretty hard. And so people were moving out of buildings, and they were downsizing. And the only thing that really saved them, because interest rates were so low, you could have a half-empty building and still make your mortgage payments. So that saved them. So you didn't see a lot of foreclosures in industrial. This is 15 quarters in a row of positive net absorption. And right now, we're up there around 16 million or so of positive net absorption. So all of this is great. And do I think we're going to stay up there? I don't know, but I still think we're going to be doing really well. And so both of those from activity and absorption are doing great. This is just new and used space, and this, when you look at the very last column, this is that 86 million square feet I was talking about. And 18% of that is actually new space that's been built. And you can see if you go back here, we only had 4 or 5% rather, of new space in the marketplace, and we gradually started to build it. But you can see the vast majority of that is still used space. Well, Clorox, General Mills, whoever comes to town, they want new space, they're going to be building it. So, and what you're going to see in this next chart, this used to be the no new construction chart because we didn't build anything for 6 or 7 years, but now you can see we have. And this represents about 16 million square feet of new space, new space. 55% of that spec construction. We didn't have that for the longest time. And so you got to talk about cause and effect, why things happen. And so, whoops, I knew that was going to happen. Here we go. All right, so cause and effect. First thing, lack of supply. We didn't build, if you go back through here, we didn't build anything for 6 or 7 years. All right, so e-commerce comes to town, it doesn't exist. 36-foot ceiling heights, those kind of things. Plus, people who come to town want high-tech, robotics and all those kind of things. They don't exist. So they're building new buildings to take care of this. So there's lack of supply. Fortune 500 companies come to town, lots of demand, but they don't find what they want. All right, so lack of supply, there's a lot of demand. The banks started lending again. Banks weren't lending for a long time. They now are lending 65% non-recourse loans for spec buildings. Isn't this how we got in the problem in the first place, probably? I don't know, but they are lending now. And so, and there's 4 things. The 4th thing is the investment market is cap rate compressed. All right, so buildings, investments are selling at all-time high sales prices. So what developers are trying to do is they're going to get their money, which is a low interest rate, great term, 65% non-recourse. They're going out to lease the building to somebody like Smuckers or Procter & Gamble. And then they're selling in the investment market at a cap rate of 5.5%, and they're making a lot of money. And they're trying to do it as fast as they can because that's where the market is, and they want to do it while it's still hot. And this isn't changing because the investment market, not only has it been hot, but now foreign money is coming in as well. So it's domestic and foreign money, and they're all driving the price. So you have 20 people bidding on the same property. That's why in fact, Pan Antonio just sold something not long ago for a 5.25 cap rate. That's the lowest cap rate I've seen. So, and I think it's going to continue while there's so much money out there. This is just the last 10 years. It takes new construction versus the absorption we were talking about. And you see there's a huge gap because the capital markets meltdown. But as we start absorbing space, and we're actually starting to build stuff, so new buildings and all that, probably 24 million square feet difference from what we built and what we've absorbed. So we were at 13.4% available now. If we hadn't built it, we'd probably been about 9.5%. So we've always built ahead of demand, so that's not, I don't see that as being an issue. These next 2 charts just talk about how the Atlanta market goes, and these numbers, these charts always look pretty similar to this. And so when you look at this, 80% of all the deals that are done in the marketplace, and this chart looks wrong because I thought it was 78%, but 80%, anywhere from 78 to 82% of all the deals in the marketplace are usually under 20,000 square feet. When you layer in this next chart right here, 90% of the deals are under 40,000 square feet. So that's, as a broker, you're working on a lot of those deals because, if you're working on the big deals, you don't make them, you're going to starve. So you're working on the 90% of the deals, and you also work on the big deals. Now, what's a little bit misleading here is when you look at, I did it again, here we go. When you look at this 3.2%, only 92 deals, but when you look at the next chart, those 92 deals, almost 25 million square feet. And so that's a lot. When you add these 2 together, they almost add up to what's over here. But when you look at these U-shaped graphs, this is what you would see in Dallas, Chicago, because they're all distribution hubs. But you can see most of the deals are, and the square footage are either made smaller deals or bigger deals. So you got the Fortune 500 people, and the national people in the big boxes, and then you have regional and mom and pops on the smaller side. So where are the hot areas? Southwest has been very hot for the last 2-3 years, and they led the way with over 25% of all the activity. And unless you were paying attention, you wouldn't know. And so, because normally you're thinking about going up 85 and going out. These three areas lead the way for activity. They're the biggest areas, so a lot of times they'll lead the way, but they don't always lead the way. But right now, Southwest appears to be the hottest of the three. This is absorption. That was activity. This is absorption. And look at this. Southwest had an astounding 47% absorption space. It was huge. So when you think about all these people building buildings down there near Shannon Mall, there's a reason why they're doing that. It's close to the airport. It's close to the 2 intermodal yards. And companies are flocking to that area right now. And also, I'd say this. Usually the Henry County area comes in third, but they did 21% of all the absorption. This probably added up to about 80% of the absorption for the Atlanta market. So now, aren't you glad it's not a very long presentation? So just to tell you, just to summarize, 58.2 million square feet of activity. That's outstanding. When people hear about that from other markets, they're very jealous of how well we're doing. You know, almost 16 million square feet of positive net absorption, 15 quarters in a row of positive net absorption. We had 4 years of negative prior to that. It was a big turnaround. We got spec construction now. We're setting records for activity absorption, new construction. Sublease space has gone up about 2%. I haven't really studied it yet. I assume it's because people are moving to new buildings. They still have a little bit of term left on their leases. That's probably what's going on there. The lending environment is very friendly because if you can get a 65% non-recourse loan, that's pretty friendly. Unemployment rates continues to go down. And the last time I saw Atlanta was 4.9% for unemployment. The only problem is wages haven't kept up. So our buying power isn't there. And then the housing market is improving, but it's still, who would have thought the housing market would go down in April of 2006 and it still hadn't fully come back yet? That's just amazing to me. So the housing market in certain pockets is doing really well, in other pockets it's not. And what you have is you may still have about 8% equity still tied up in people's homes. They can't get it out yet. And so you don't see them selling. And you also don't see people moving here from like Florida and Alabama and other places because they can't sell their home yet and really get their money out. And so that hurts a little bit. Also from the housing market, it used to be as lenders would not hold student debt against somebody in their ratios, but they do now. So it makes it harder for people when they get out of college when they have student debt because they now hold that ratio against them. But the students are getting back of them because they're saying, well, we're not going to buy a house anyway because we want to go to Dallas and we want to be tied down with a house. And so they're leasing. That's why the apartment market's gone so great. And then the last thing really that we think about, and most people don't think about, but we better, the uncertainty that happens when things are going on in the world have domino effects to us. There's ISIS in the Middle East. It's a war-torn Middle East. You have the refugees going to Europe, and that's the problem. You have Europe's unemployment rates twice what ours is. They're our biggest export partner, and if they're not working, they're not buying, and we're not making and shipping it to them. So we're going to our industrial market is actually going to get better when Europe gets healthier. Still have an election looming, uncertainty there. People always slow down with that, and then just. We got people coming across the border. What do we do with that? I mean, there's all sorts of things, and you just got to hope that nothing big, major happens that would slow us down, like the capital markets did. We had that the storms in New Orleans or whatever. Those kind of things stop everything, and that's pretty much it on this, I think. Yeah, I can open up for anything y'all want to talk about.